Welcome to the Koi Pond, episode 9.
Yes, we've made it
Wow.
officially into the new year.
How about that, huh?
Isn't that just absolutely crazy?
And man, the NFL is heating up, isn't it?
It really is. The NFL is the coach carousel is off and spinning. There was news as recent as like an hour ago, I think it was.
Yes. And so I think probably you want to kind of hit those things as we go through the games from last week. And we can kind of hit the news as we
go through
them.
Makes sense,
That sound good?
Yeah.
First, let us begin with the Koi pick.
Yes.
Koi Pond pick and how that did. And
the Koi Pond pick hit again.
Wow. What in the world is going on?
Yeah, now we're 3-4. I'm trying to remember what did we pick?
So the Saturday games were Pittsburgh at Baltimore and Houston at Indy.
No,
did we
Dolphins Bills.
We went the Sunday night game.
Yes, we picked the under, didn't we?
I think we did.
Because it was 49.5.
Yeah, and it was 24-14 Buffalo.
Yeah, so it wasn't even a sweat, really.
So,
I mean, I'll say we can go over it when we get to that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, under hit, we're 3-4. Life is good.
Yeah, can't beat that.
We're chugging along.
Yeah. So that's a good one right there.
That's one of the things Koi Pond's been up to. And then, do you want to say anything about some of the stuff we have in the works?
Yeah,
on the side. I think earlier is probably better for that before we dive into football and forget about it.
Yeah. So we have a banner underway so that will join us here in the pond. And
yep, we'll have a little decoration piece of some sort around here.
It'll be roughly about the side of that board.
Oh my God,
it's a good size.
Yeah, no kidding.
And
I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't board size.
Yeah, the logo in the middle is going to be nice and big, and
nice.
We will use this baby whenever we take the Koi Pond on the road, and which I'm sure will be coming down the pike at some point.
Yes, at some point it'll work out that way.
Yeah, and then we have our friends in the north getting us some hats and hoodies. And I didn't really give any specifics other than just the logo that we wanted.
Yep. So
it will be a surprise to us as well.
Indeed.
But they have always done pretty well by us to come up with things that look good. And so I'd kind of like to just let them pick it and see.
I like the idea. We'll see you. Comment below if you want anything. Text us if you want anything. We can definitely find it.
At some point,
keep it rolling.
We will be opening our store, I'm sure.
Yes, we'll
a little down the road, but
yes, not bad to let them know that is in the works.
Yes.
And they don't need to worry about where to find it because we will be letting them know very shortly.
Exactly right. Very exciting times. Very exciting times in the Koi Pond.
And I'm figuring out the caller stuff so people could call into the show at some point.
Oh, that will be fun. Love it.
It'll be a mix of figuring out the computer with the audio, but nothing we can't figure out.
Right. Exactly. Nothing
Hopefully
the whiz man can't get for us there, huh?
I don't know about the whiz man, but I'm doing my best.
Well, you're doing a hell of a job, that's for sure.
Appreciate it.
All the media-related activities are all Colin, and again, I think he's doing a fantastic job, and
we're trying.
So away we go with the last week games.
Yes, indeed.
So the first game, Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean that was lame. It was kind of atrocious to watch. Ravens don't have any starters in really.
Really nothing for them to play for.
No,
number 1 seed locked up.
Yep.
Pittsburgh needed the game to get in, though, I believe.
Yes, Pittsburgh needed that game. They needed the Colts game that was afterwards. There was a few things that had to go right for them, and they still looked kind of terrible.
Yeah,
it was a bit rough.
You got to see it for Mike Tomlin, though. I mean, Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett.
Yeah,
the guy has had key people missing throughout the season.
Yeah.
And he now is second on the most consecutive winning seasons list.
I saw that.
Cowboys are 21 seasons in a row. That one was went to the mid-80s.
Right.
Mike Tomlin's streak is alive, so he could tie it next year. And the Patriots were after that, and their streak ended, I believe, this year or last year. So
yes.
But a rumor flying around. Last night, Adam Schefter reporting that there is a potential that Mike Tomlin may not be back as the head coach of the Steelers.
I saw that. I saw that there's a lot of rumors going around that Mike Tomlin might not be back, which would be is a crazy thought. But he might be fed up with that fan base. They've been getting a little
uppity,
sleepless. It feels like it just. I don't know. I could see him ending it on a good enough note that they made the playoffs, and maybe he goes elsewhere. I mean, this is one of the largest coaching carousels it feels like we've seen in a long time.
I agree with you, and I would say the names, the major coaches that are on the move or potentially on the move, never really seen anything like this before.
And you hear about all the teams that fired coaches, but those are teams that should have.
Yeah.
But then you're hearing of teams where the coaches that are great may not be back, which is even crazier.
Exactly right.
So,
interesting that Steelers have really had 3 head coaches: Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin. All 3 of them, I believe, have 60 plus. It might be 62% winning percents over their careers.
There is a crazy stat.
That is unheard of.
Yeah.
For organization to have that many long tenured coaches with that level of success.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is a crazy stat, and it'll be interesting to see over the next month or so if anything comes together with Tomlin.
Yep.
I don't know what he's going to do. I can't tell if it's just it's just hearsay and bullshit, or if it's
I agree with you.
Real.
It's hard to say.
It'd be weird, but I could understand at the same time that he's done with Pittsburgh and the shit that they've gone through with him.
Was a tough season.
Yeah,
and he's got to be worn out. There's just no doubt about that.
Yeah, the Kenny Pickett stuff sounding so good and then just not doing it, and then they get rid of Canada and it's still not doing it. I wouldn't be surprised if he feels guilty for getting rid of Canada, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, no kidding. And the other thing here too is back in October, interesting, the curse of the terrible towel.
Yeah, the Jaguars
playing, making fun, as Trevor Lawrence said, the little yellow towel. Yeah. And Steelers and Steelers fans didn't take too well to that.
No, that was a major problem they had with it.
And we'll get to the Jacksonville game here in a minute, but for them to be out and the Steelers to be in,
crazy.
Maybe it's real. I don't know.
I know. It's wild.
It's wild.
And we did pick the Steelers to win this, so there we go.
Yep. On to Houston at Indianapolis.
This was your pick. You got it. I picked the Colts. Missed it.
Texans 23, Colts 19. That
was a hard-fought game.
It was a hard-fought game, and it could have gone either way. Jonathan Taylor for the Colts, killed it with 188 yards rushing.
There's not much more he could do.
Now, C.J. Stroud, what do you say about the guy?
First play of the game, 75-yard touchdown to Nico Collins. That was wild.
C.J. Stroud is just playing beyond his years, in my opinion.
Yes.
So
it's such an anomaly for a first-year head coach and a first-year quarterback to have the success that they've had with also a banged-up roster. Tank Dell's out for the season.
Yeah,
and I think there's a couple other players that were starters that are out. But, that is...
Noah Brown was doing well. He's out. Yeah, you're right.
It is a wild scene. Usually you get one or the other, but not both.
So Houston, for the 19th time in the last 21 seasons, Houston is one of the teams to go from worst to first.
Wow.
And so just an amazing turnaround.
Yeah.
DeMeco Ryans, my goodness.
Yeah.
And there's a scene of that guy after that game just in the hallway, and he's just emotionally taking it in. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movies Miracle with Kurt Russell about the 1980 USA hockey win over Russia, or Moneyball when Brad Pitt, after they break this streak for winning all these games in a row, comes out into the hallway, and the scene was, at least DeMeco Ryans was totally real. And it was really cool to see the emotion. It just had to be. To go from worst to first is fantastic.
Crazy story. Awesome to see it for them. Definitely a tough season for the Colts. But on the bright side, Anthony Richardson will be back. Taylor didn't get off to a hot start given his whole contract thing.
True.
Zach Moss did step up.
Yep.
Pittman stepped up. The defense looked a lot better this year. I think they'll be fine going forward, but if you're a Colts fan, that's got to just be aggravating.
Yeah.
And, just to get that close, it's frustrating.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So we move on to the Sunday games. Cleveland at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Cleveland had nothing to play for.
No, they sat everybody.
So really no surprise there that Cincinnati 31-14. Not even really anybody played for Cincinnati. Jeff Driscoll played.
No.
So,
and the Bengals fans packed out the stadium, so good for them. Love to see that, but not too much going on in that game. Pretty similar to the Patriots Steelers, except Bengals had Joe Burrow hurt the whole year. What do you expect? That's a tough spot. They did a lot better, I thought, this year than they would without Joe Burrow. So that's a huge plus going forward when they were talking about Zach Taylor, because he was getting a lot of shit for, I wouldn't say a year, but maybe at least a few weeks where they felt like he was the problem. To have a backup quarterback come in there, given they have the weapons that they do, but to come in there and still have success, I think bodes amazing for Bengals fans next year. So I wouldn't even worry. Take this postseason off. You've been through enough. You'll see Patrick Mahomes next year.
And these coaches, like you said, I mean, there's multiples of them that have lost their starting quarterback, lost a lot of key players, still managed to maintain what they're trying to do pretty darn well.
Yes,
And again, like you said, I mean, Cincinnati's an example of that.
Yes, and I mean, it's heartbreaking. You probably will lose T. Higgins. We'll see what Joe Mixon's up to. But overall, I would say this was a good year, given everything considered.
Yeah, no doubt. Minnesota at Detroit. Detroit rolls there 30-20.
Yeah, I think Minnesota had a shot on a star that was like 6 things needed to go right for them. I don't think anyone believed in the Vikings. I think we picked the Lions. But this kind of felt like a throwaway game as it was.
Yep.
So they handled business.
They did a great job, the Lions. I mean, now they roll on to host actually their first playoff game at Ford Field ever.
Wow.
So that's a pretty exciting thing for
because the stadium's relatively new compared to their
the Silver Dome.
Yeah.
So that's exciting for Detroit. And, and Dan Campbell and all that.
That place will be packed, and that's where they play the Rams. But I guess we'll get into that later.
Yep. Can't wait to talk about that one.
Yeah.
Jacksonville at Tennessee. Again, Mike Vrabel.
We picked it.
The guy just hates losing. He hates losing more than he enjoys winning. And I think that's why he finds a way in games like this.
Yes, and he's the king of they're not supposed to win, so they're going to win. And, I mean, as a Chargers fan, seeing Trevor Lawrence choke the big moment, whether he's hurt or not, I don't give a shit. Justin Herbert's been hurt for his entire career. To see them lose in Tennessee like that made my day. And then how the fuck do the Titans decide to fire Mike Vrabel?
It's the stupidest shit ever.
They will regret that. That will be a poverty franchise for a decade.
And I was watching more about this. So when Bud Adams had the Titans, he was the guy that moved them to Tennessee, I think.
The previous owner or is the current owner?
I think it's the current owner's family.
Okay.
So he was the main guy. He had 3 people that he could have passed the team off to. He had no succession plan.
Oh, Jesus.
And so this is actually a reason why now the NFL owners require every team to have a succession plan if the main guy dies.
That makes sense.
Because they're just lost. And there was so much shit going on with like estate taxes. They had no plan. And part of this was, what resulted was just the mayhem that has been Tennessee.
Yeah.
No football people in charge. A daughter that just got given a team and didn't really know.
Yeah.
And poor Mike Vrabel. I mean, my God. The guy is one of my favorite coaches. And
Ohio guy.
He got jerked around big time.
He did.
He didn't deserve it.
Between A.J. Brown getting taken away from him.
Yeah.
Between whoever he wanted to be the GM that didn't get to be it. He was the one out on the current one. He wanted someone different. I mean, it hasn't gone his way in Tennessee. And he's such a great coach dealing with that terrible roster for the last X amount of years.
Yeah.
I think it'll suit him best that they got rid of him. But it's a shame for the Titans how bad. I don't think they realize how bad the situation is.
Right.
And they won't until they look back on it, probably.
They're going to look back a year from now with whatever they do, unless they pull a fucking rabbit out of a hat. And they're going to regret this move big time.
And they will. And I think it's going to take new management to really set this franchise back on a good road. But
I agree.
I was very happy with this outcome.
Yeah, me too. It was fucking fabulous.
Yes.
I wanted Vrabel to win.
And this was one of the things the Steelers needed in order to make the playoffs, I'm pretty sure, which was even better because of the whole terrible towel thing that happened.
It was just
week
beautiful.
7 and 11, whatever it was.
Yeah, back in October.
It was so fucking funny.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. New York Jets at the Patriots.
Ugh.
Jets 17-3, and is that it for Bill? That's really, he looked like a man who was reserved to. That was kind of it.
I've said this to friends. I really think there's a better chance Bill stays with the Patriots as a GM and Vrabel comes on as the head coach.
Okay.
I think I think he stays in football. I don't know if it's going to be head coaching. I have no sources. I don't know jack shit. I just get a feel that he wants to stay there and he doesn't want to have to deal with moving. He's too old for that shit, it feels like, and he doesn't want to start with a new team.
And his kid is there.
Yeah.
If Vrabel will put his kid in some type of capacity.
And Vrabel was just, inducted in the Ring of Honor there.
Oh, was he? Okay.
This past Sunday.
Oh, sweet. Wow.
Or this past season.
Yeah, sure.
It was sunny. Clearly it wasn't this past weekend. But whenever they did it, I have strong feelings to believe that there's a way that this works out that you get to keep Bill on the pay, and then bring in Vrabel, and because Vrabel's one of Bill's guys already, that's a way that all parties are happy, so that Kraft isn't fighting this old man to try and take control back of his team. Because it'll be easier to talk to Vrabel, I'd assume, than Bill.
It would make a hell of a lot of sense for them to make that move.
And for all I know, Vrabel goes to the Steelers, Tomlin goes to the Patriots, and Bill retires. There's 1,000 ways this could go.
Exactly.
No one actually knows right now except maybe Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter. But for the love of God, that makes the most sense to me. I could be crazy, but I can't believe the Jets won this.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even for how bad the Patriots were, I thought they would win at home.
Jets finished the season with the first defense and the 32nd ranked offense officially.
Wow.
So I thought the Patriots would win this for Bill. Clearly, the snow just destroyed it. So what are you going to do?
Exactly.
Another game that really doesn't matter for anything.
New Orleans handles Atlanta 48-17.
That was hilarious.
Arthur Smith is out. As he should be. I think he's been terrible in my opinion.
It's not been he's a good guy. I've enjoyed listening to him talk, but the coaching, I just don't understand what he was doing with Bijan Robinson early in the season and towards the end.
Makes no sense. And again, Derek Carr in a game that kind of he has no control over what the outcome impacts, he plays great.
Yes.
No pressure.
No worries.
So
he will always win those games.
Those are good games for Derek Carr.
I loved the end where they ran in the touchdown with Williamson.
I think so.
Who was on the Lions last year.
Yeah.
And was the leading touchdowns, had the most amount of touchdowns in the NFL or something like that. So for Winston and all them to outrule the coach and say, no, we're running this play, and then for Shannon Sharp and all of them to be like, you shouldn't be doing that, is bullshit. Give me a break. And then
Arthur to lose his mind at midfield. It's like, okay, dude, you were getting canned long before that last touchdown.
Yes.
Sorry, dude.
And I will say I can understand the emotion, and he's already probably pissed knowing that he's fired.
Yeah, it sucks.
I don't knock him for saying it, but at the same time, who the fuck cares? It's the NFL. If this was Pee Wee football, okay, maybe if you're already up 50, you don't have to have your 5'6" running back that's 10 years old running in. But give me a break. The game ultimately had no outcome matter because the Buccaneers won. So
exactly.
I digress.
No, that's good. Tampa at Carolina. Oh my God, 9-0. What a lame ass game. That Carolina is just a dumpster fire.
Yes. Carolina was great.
Good grief. I mean, from dumping the drink to whatever they're going to try to do now, I don't know. They got a long ass way to go.
That owner, like we said, this offseason needs to figure out, who do I hire to take care of these football problems that I clearly should not be meddling in? Is what I'm hoping he took away. What probably he's going to take away is he's going to hire a psychotic head coach, and then they're going to get rid of Thielen.
Yeah.
And then they're going to redo something, and it's going to make no sense. And this will be the other poverty franchise for the next decade. Titans, Carolina. Those will be your two for right now, unless there's some crazy head coach hire, which is always possible. I think these two, one on each side, are going to be the 2-16 teams, 2-15 teams for the next several years.
Yep. Yeah,
but
agree.
The new owner does give hope because he's got a lot of money, and it doesn't sound like he's afraid to spend it if they're going to win.
It'd be interesting from that standpoint.
Hasn't worked yet.
Yeah.
We'll see if he figures it out. Obviously, you don't get that much money unless you inherit it. You've got to be a little smart, you'd assume. So I'll give him another season.
Well, the new coach and the new GM, if that's how he goes, will they decide that Bryce Young is still the right guy?
That is.
Or will they move on and go a different direction?
So, and I mean, didn't watch a lot of Panthers games this year. I don't think many people probably did. But it's like, if you go back and look at it, how much of it was Bryce Young or how much of it was the wide receiver, the coaching, the line, that'll be hard. I feel like you got him on a rookie deal. You got to at least give it a year, maybe two.
Yeah. I mean, short quarterbacks outside of the name of Doug Flutie, have not been very successful. So we'll see what happens. But I agree. For what a mess it was, they should give him another year and put some talent around him.
Yes, I mean, give him the benefit of the doubt. I feel like, I'm by no means a huge Alabama fan. I could care less what happens to him. But to see things like what happened to Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen in the NFL is maybe not heartbreaking, but it's just sad to see because it never feels like they got a legit chance.
Agree.
Just my opinion, though.
Totally agree. Chicago at Green Bay. Green Bay wins that one 17-9.
Yeah.
Jordan Love has a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Jones has a great game. Jaden Reed has a great game. Tough conditions. I believe it was really windy.
Yep.
And so to throw for 316 yards in a real windy scenario, that's pretty impressive.
That was interesting to watch. The Packers baffle me because every time I think they're about to fall off, they get hot, and then right when they get hot, they fall off. So they're a bit of a question mark in my opinion. I don't doubt Jordan Love's ability.
Yep.
I somehow doubt the coaching and the play calling because it feels like that's what's been holding him back a little bit. I could be wrong because, again, I have not watched many Packers games this year.
Yeah.
But they've been a hard team to bet, which I know. But other than that, it's been like they're not going to beat you by 20.
Right.
But they're also, if the defense shows up on that team, they're not the worst, but I still don't think they're one of the best.
Yeah.
So it's a weird scenario.
It really is. Head coach of the Bears, Matt Eberflus, will be back.
Yep.
The offensive coordinator is being replaced.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that signals, in my opinion, that Justin Fields will remain the starting quarterback.
I agree. I'm glad that it feels like they're going to stick with Justin Fields so far.
And you got the first overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
You got another pick in the top 10, I think.
Yep.
So you got the chance to put some pretty good talent around him. Maybe a Marvin Harrison or something like that. But Justin Fields, I think, demonstrated enough that when he was healthy and back, I mean, he was a different guy than he was early on.
Yes.
So,
and I really think that if they are able to put a line there and they're able to get another weapon, that team has a legit chance, given their defense started picking it up, that they can, hang in there with most teams. And if they were to get rid of Justin Fields and go with Caleb Williams or whatever, I also think that the franchise is destined for failure.
Yep.
I mean, the owner's, 105?
Yeah.
For the love of God, Get someone from this century.
Yeah, no kidding. I agree with you.
But that's just where I stand with them. Happy for the Packers. They made it.
Yeah.
That was a long shot at one point.
It really was.
So happy for them. We'll
Impressive.
see what happens.
Yep. Denver at the Raiders. Raiders won 27-14.
No implications in this game.
Yep.
The Raiders would be morons to not stick with that head coach.
Antonio Pierce. Yeah,
AP.
I agree with you. I mean, if the players are bought in, that's really the most important part of the battle.
Is this not the second time they've had an interim head coach that's done really well?
Yeah.
And the last time was, I can't remember the guy's name.
Nice. I forget who it was,
but he did very well with the team. They canned him.
Yep.
And then they just canned the recent head coach.
Yeah.
Have this guy, and he starts doing amazing. Well, given the team doing amazing, if they don't stick with him this time, I really think. What's his name? The owner. The Raiders.
Oh, Davis?
Yeah. I think he needs to be out of there. I think the Raiders could, stick with this guy, build the team around what they've got right now and be in a good spot.
Agree with you.
Especially that defense.
Oh, my gosh. And their backup Zamir White, had 112 yards in that game, and that bodes well for the future there, too. That's great.
Broncos, on the other hand, stickier situation given what they did with Russell Wilson.
Yep.
That's going to hurt him cap-wise.
Now they're saying that they made it clear that he could come back. But I think the bridge has been burnt there.
Yes, the inconsistencies scare me. It'll be interesting to see if we see Russell Wilson in a different jersey next year.
I could see that.
I could also, there's plenty of teams that could use a good quarterback, which I think he's proven in this last season he is.
Yep.
Especially with a decent head coach and not Vic Fangio or whoever the hell it was that first year.
Right.
That buffoon when they...
It's terrible.
Either way.
That's terrible.
Neither here nor there. But Russell clearly proved he's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Sean Payton's still a good coach. Whatever box office people decided to do that to Russell Wilson, I don't think it was necessarily Sean Payton. I think he was told that from higher-ups. I think Russell Wilson's gone, so I don't know what to expect from the Broncos, given the kind of moronic decision to burn the bridge with them.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll see.
Going to be an interesting offseason for the Broncos, for sure. Philly at the Giants.
Another one we got right.
Shocker. The Giants 27, the Eagles 10.
That
Crazy.
That
Makes no sense to me.
I have no words for it other than, and given all the news that came out about the Giants defensive coordinator after all of this.
Yeah, Wink Martindale.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that story's real. We'll get into that. But
Yep.
the Eagles, not only did they look bad coming into this game, they got more injured by the end of it, to the extent that they realized this isn't worth it.
So the Cowboys and the Eagles were playing simultaneously.
Right. Both at 4 o'clock or whatever.
The Cowboys were losing 10-7.
Yes.
And the Eagles, A.J. Brown got hurt.
Yes.
And at that moment, they pulled Hurts.
Because Hurts had already gotten his finger banged up.
Right.
His throwing middle finger, I think.
I believe
was
so.
Fractured or
Yeah.
dislodged or whatever. It looked bad based on the photos.
Yeah. The Giants played a hell of a game. They've played great games the last few weeks since Tyrod Taylor was taking over for the Italian man. Tommy
DeVito.
Yeah, exactly.
And do you see they actually used Tommy DeVito in the game a couple times?
They did, really.
I don't know if that was just for reps because I really wasn't paying close enough attention at that point because I think they went up like 21-0 at one point.
It was crazy. I couldn't believe how fast they got on top of them.
And yeah, they got that on top of them, locked down the offense, and on top of it, they also the defensive coordinator for the Giants ended up apparently cursing out the head coach and walking out.
Really?
The story
during the game.
After
the game.
So it was like the exit.
That's why he disappeared.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's the stories coming out about that situation.
Damn.
So I don't know what's going on in there.
That's crazy.
But I hope it's true just because that's hilarious.
And they are saying, so the Eagles were 10-1, and then they went 1-7,
6?
1-5.
Wow.
So they lost 5 of the last 6. And they
1-6.
ended up 11-6.
Yep.
That's how it turned out. They were 10-1 at one point.
Wow.
Insane.
Oh yeah.
So depending on how they do in the playoffs, and we'll get to that, but there's word today that Nick Sirianni may be out of there. So we'll see if they lose.
I'm indifferent about that. I don't like the guy. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni is not a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I also don't know if it's to the same extent fair both ways. That one, he loses both his coordinators, and they have. Never mind. It's them falling apart that's the biggest problem.
It is.
Because I was saying to myself, he lost his coordinators. Maybe he got off to a rough start, but the rough start's been at the end of the season.
It has.
Which is not a good sign.
Not a good sign.
Never mind. I already talked myself out of this position.
And again, I really think because he is such an emotional guy that when he had to take over the play calling duties, I think it became too much stress and emotion-wise.
When he wouldn't call the right play or it wouldn't turn out the way he had hoped, maybe.
Yep, and he's so invested in what was going on with the offense, he lost that chance to be back like this and to really kind of motivate and do the emotional thing that he was so good at.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
And I think it just fried his ass. And because when I looked at him mid-season, even the games they won, he looked worn out to me.
Yeah.
And I thought, if you're now calling the plays because shit's happened, your emotions are getting eaten up by all the shit involved in that.
It's no longer just this one thing is your problem. It's now damn near the whole thing is your problem.
Yep. You can't broadly motivate then because you're so into the weeds and the details over here. So that poor guy, I kind of feel bad for him as much as I hate the Eagles.
I do a little bit regardless of all of it just because it's like such promise last year. Good start to the season, and it all burns to the ground.
Yep.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean,
if they lose to the Bucs, he's out.
I think you're right.
And that the Philly media right now is just going berserk on him.
That's the worst part for him.
Yeah.
Is that, like we talked about, I think it was last week, about these big football market cities specifically like Philly, Pittsburgh, etc. Those media people will kill you because that's what they live for come fall.
Yep.
After baseball and the Phillies lose the World Series or win it or whatever they do, they end up, going to town on it, which is also a good segue into saying we saw Kyle Schwarber this weekend.
Yeah.
I won't say where for the sake of, where is where, but that was crazy to see.
That's pretty wild.
Shout out the Phillies, but,
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, pretty crazy, but I don't know what Sirianni does. I hope they give him I think he deserves a second chance. I mean, to have a Super Bowl year, make it the playoffs at least the next year. I mean, it's not trending upward, but they didn't exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens there. It's
Yeah, I
a
don't
crazy
know.
situation.
We'll find out.
I don't know if I've ever seen a team tank this hard so quickly.
That's
and
pretty
so
bad.
like directly.
Yes.
Usually you could point out a couple penalties, a couple fumbles, some random moments that you could blame on officials, but they have consistently just been ass for 6-7 weeks now.
Yeah, very true. Seattle at Arizona. Seattle survives 21-20.
Yeah.
I don't know who we picked in that one, but
I think we did Seattle.
Did we? Okay.
I think we got away with this one, but
yeah.
I don't think this had any. Seattle did need to win to
They
have
had a chance. Yeah.
But it ended up not mattering, sadly.
And then Pete Carroll today, it was announced just a half hour or so ago that he's out as head coach
now.
But he might be an advisor.
Yeah, so I think what's happened with them, which I'm happy, this is how it ended for him. If it is the way that it ended, it'll come out later with details. Probably after you watch this pod tomorrow. But the way they did this, I like because it's like ends on good terms. They probably just told him he's old as shit, and we need to get a new young guy while this carousel is so wide open.
Yeah,
and offered to probably keep him on as, a close advisor to the owner, head coach, whoever, team as a whole.
Yeah.
That way you're not absolutely burning a bridge just to get him out. You can,
right,
nurture grandpa out the door. Because, he's old as shit.
Oh,
he doesn't look like it because he's chewing that gum 24/7, but he is an old motherfucker.
And to your point right there, I would be shorting gum manufacturers moving forward because gum sales are going to be down big time without that guy frantically chewing on the sideline.
Until they probably, they got to honor him in a ring of honor in Seattle at some point. Buy gum stock right before that because every person in the stands will have a white piece of mint gum chewing obnoxiously in the crowd for about 5 minutes.
Yep. Kansas City at Los Angeles Chargers. This one almost pissed you off, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, no. In Chargers fashion, tank, Chargers, tank. And they will not let me down now when they blow another game that doesn't matter.
But the Chargers were ahead 12-10 with a minute and a half to go,
something like that. I refused to watch it.
I saw that and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, are you kidding me?
But then
in your true fashion, like you said,
yes,
they found a way to lose
it,
so it's great.
Made some quick money off that, very easy. Kansas City money line to somehow win that game. Doesn't matter who it is. It was a beautiful thing, and the Chargers have the 5th pick overall and are looking for the new head coach.
Yep.
Vrabel, Harbaugh would be great. Honestly, I think they screw this up and go with a coordinator no one's heard of. GM-wise, I don't know. I have no opinion on that for what it's worth. But
apparently they're planning to interview Kellen Moore for the job.
They've been getting all of the interviews in because I think they're going to quickly offer Harbaugh something before any of these Michigan alumni that are crazy rich try and keep him in Michigan. I feel like the chances of the Chargers getting Harbaugh are better with Michigan winning.
Yeah.
Because he got that notch.
Yep.
Again, all rumors, just my own opinions, but
he's competitive, and his brother's competitive.
Yes.
And I think they'd like to play head-to-head again. They got that in the Super Bowl, which is just crazy to think of.
Yes.
When he was with the Niners.
Yeah, that was Flacco versus Kaepernick.
That's right.
How about that?
Yeah.
But
and so I could totally see him come back to the NFL.
That's the other reason I think he comes back. The Bears apparently were, quote unquote, in that race. They now are sticking with Eberflus, so they're not part of it now.
Yeah.
I've heard something that the Raiders are apparently involved.
Huh.
I don't see how the Raiders get him, or he goes to the Raiders personally with his past experience on the Chargers.
Yeah.
Given the position with a quarterback, something the Raiders don't have, I have to believe that the Chargers are ahead in that. So I'd really, really like if Harbaugh could just come to the Chargers, personally. But we'll see. There's a lot of offseason. For all we know, this deal doesn't get done until April.
I could see it though.
Maybe March. But I'm really hoping they're getting all these interviews in with head coaches, getting through the Rooney's Rule and all that. So they can offer up Jim Harbaugh a fat stack of money that he cannot refuse. And again, I think his brother being there, being like, "Hey, you finally got this. Now let's go up to the men's league and do this again."
They'd both be in the AFC, so that would make it interesting.
Yeah.
So,
but we'll see. I'm hoping.
Yep. Rams had 49ers. Niners didn't have anything to play for. They already had number 1 seed locked up.
And I think the Rams were locked into the playoffs. It just depended on seeding.
I think there was a little bit still in play there, but overall, not a very,
nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy.
It's about what you'd expect. The ending was kind of fun with the back and forth, but it's Carson Wentz against Sam Darnold.
Yeah, exactly.
Carson Wentz still running and breaking both of his ankles randomly. So kudos to him for keeping up the spirit.
Yep. Cowboys at Commanders pretty much went the way it was supposed to go.
Shaky start, but
settled in, and
that was quickly over. It felt like.
And CeeDee Lamb set multiple records on the season, Cowboy records, receiving catches, receiving yards in a season, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he also set a record in the NFL for the most, I think it was the most 100-yard. Most games in a season with 11-plus receptions.
Oh, wow.
So he's the new leader in that for a single season.
And we forgot to mention Puka Nacua for setting the rookie records for receiving and something else. But congratulations to him, obviously.
Yep, fantastic. Ron Rivera's out.
Yes, he's
so
gone.
He needed to go. It was time.
Yeah, it sucks to see him go after what he did with the Panthers for so many years. But he wasn't doing it in Washington.
No. And the capper was the Bills at the Dolphins.
What a sweet
21-14 Bills.
Yes.
Pretty much thought that the Bills would win this, that the Dolphins just didn't have enough firepower.
You would assume it got off to a start that was not favorable for the Bills by a mile.
Yep.
And then the Dolphins proceeded to do absolutely nothing in the second half as a whole.
Yep.
And that was very interesting to watch. The Bills ran a kickoff for a touchdown, which kind of sparked them.
Yeah, that was big.
Josh Allen started off bad with a few picks.
Yep.
And then, from there, I think they pretty much just marched down the field. That final drive was pretty sweet with Josh Allen running for 10 yards.
Really was.
Getting it. Then final drive for the Dolphins ends in a 2 interception. So I will keep beating the drum that man is useless no matter how many weapons you give him.
Yep. No doubt. I mean, you can't argue with it. So, I mean, the proof was right there in the game. So he had his chance. He withered.
Yeah. When the game starts, when they're ahead in the game, there is no urgency. There is no real pain either. It's a comfortability that he's okay with, and then as soon as they get behind, he panics and underthrows it right to a defensive back.
Exactly right.
So I feel bad for him. I don't hate him as a person. I hate mainly the Dolphins fans, but seeing Trevor Lawrence and Tua do so badly is music to my ears as a Chargers fan. Simply as that.
So
that was the week.
That's the week in review.
Pretty crazy week 18, given everything considered.
Yeah.
Didn't think there'd be that many narratives going into it, let alone the coaching carousel to quickly follow. That was crazy.
The NFL had to just be pleased as could be with how the matchups turned out, how the scheduling worked out. It was all that.
Thing of beauty. And it's a bit of a coincidence, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And not to mention Aaron Rodgers getting into it with Jimmy Kimmel.
Yes.
That was interesting, to say the least.
I haven't seen the Jimmy Kimmel angle, but I watched the Aaron Rodgers response
happened just the other day
on Pat McAfee. So, sound like it involved the Epstein list.
Yes,
and it involved the vaccines in general.
Yes. To sum it up, I think Jimmy Kimmel in the past has knocked Aaron Rodgers for being a lunatic, psycho, non-vaxxer, crazy person, conspiracist.
And also knocked him on his intelligence,
and,
I think.
Went to community college, so got that one in there, too, for what it's worth. To which Aaron Rodgers made a fleeting joke that hopes he doesn't see him on the Epstein list.
Yeah.
And somehow, and it was a joke that was like, not that he was on it, but if they found he was on it.
Yeah.
But, of course, the media and whoever hates Pat McAfee immediately jumped on the Pat McAfee let Aaron Rodgers make a joke, or let Aaron Rodgers say that Kimmel is on the Epstein list, which blew this out of proportion by a mile. And Jimmy Kimmel responded about, you're endangering my family and whatnot, which, all fair things, but it was never what he said. So it got blown out of proportion by a mile.
Yeah.
Once again,
Stupid shit.
It's stupid shit. It really is ridiculous.
Let's be honest. I mean, what I heard Aaron Rodgers go through as far as the vaccines and all that.
If it makes more sense to him.
He's not exactly by himself in terms of questioning the vaccines.
Legitimacy.
Yeah, the legitimacy of the whole thing. And more you hear people like, I'm not getting the booster. I'm not doing this. This has been a hosing of the American people, the world.
Yeah.
He even was talking about Fauci, and how much he personally benefited from
The
going
whole
out
thing.
there and consulting fees and this shit to say this was necessary. I mean, shutting down the world,
Yeah.
basically.
Taking a
You know,
toll on everyone's mental health.
all these businesses going out because they couldn't be open.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not wrong.
There are questions I feel like that will be asked about the whole thing at some point. There's also crazy new data coming out about the vaccines.
Yeah.
And we're by no means conspiracists.
No.
We're not trying to drive any points. Not that anybody that actually listens to the show would think that, or a podcast. But it's fair questions to be asking as a whole.
We're simply saying he's not the only one
And
that's looked at this and said,
it's a little fishy.
huh,
Yeah. Why
is this what it seems?
why
Or
did-
is it?
Why did
right?
everyone jump on the train so quick without
That's
asking
right.
where it was going?
That's right.
And-
Exactly right.
It's not a fair. It's a fair question to ask by all means. And if he did his
Absolutely.
own research and came to the conclusion that the vaccine was not for him,
Yep.
so be it. For the love of God, let's not force needles in people's arms.
No.
Given Montgomery County is what it is, I'd prefer not to.
Exactly.
So,
right.
I
I
think
totally agree.
the whole thing was a big media ploy.
Yep.
If Kimmel never saw the full clip, that's on him. I don't blame him for the response at the same time based on what he probably saw and heard. So,
Right.
it's bullshit. It's
Yeah.
all bullshit. And because of that, Pat McAfee, Aaron Rodgers, and AJ Hawk took the brunt of it, which doesn't faze them.
No, and I love it.
Was
right?
hilarious, but for the love of God, people
Yeah.
need to stop getting off the hate train.
Exactly.
It's getting ridiculous.
Yep. No doubt about it.
But so that was the Aaron Rodgers thing. That
Yep.
was
I'm glad
crazy.
you brought it up because I had it on my list too.
That was
So,
crazy in the week of football for that.
It was.
Really to throw that in the mix.
Throw more shit in there, right?
And then national football. We had the college football championship.
We did.
I watched
Wolverines just toasted them, man.
Took care of business.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of people picking Washington to win that. I picked Michigan personally.
Yeah.
They took care of it easily.
They did.
I mean, Penix just did not look like he was comfortable at all at any point. And because of that, I think he got hurt at some point in that game too. He was grabbing that right rib cage side.
Yeah.
Didn't look good. I saw that Washington receiver, Adunze, is supposed to be a top prospect. If the fucking Chargers draft him over Brock Powers or Neighbors, after seeing what he did in the big lights, in the big moment, I might burn every jersey I own.
Well, you are going to feel better, my friend, because I have been starting to do some drafting homework, and I am seeing Brock Powers
I think it's Powers.
Yeah.
Might be Bowers.
for the Georgia, right?
Yeah, Georgia. Yeah.
But I'm seeing Brock Powers on 4 out of 6 mock drafts going to the Chargers.
I'd be very happy with
So, dude looked pretty awesome from what I saw.
Yes.
So I get what you're getting at there.
because I don't need another Quentin Johnson moment where we've got now Keenan Allen,
Yep.
2 basically rookies, and neither one of them know what route they're running.
Exactly.
I'm going to take it step in stride.
Woo!
Not going to freak out until it happens.
Woo!
But
Justin Herbert, and people still pick on his ass too, and I don't get it.
it's the same shit that happens to Dak, given Dak's at
Yeah.
a much greater scale.
Yeah.
But the hate that Justin Herbert gets,
Yeah.
given everything considered, is so blown out of proportion it pisses me off.
That guy has done a lot with not a lot. And he never bitches, he never complains. The guy goes back out there, gets his ass knocked around,
Yes.
stands in there and he stands in there and takes hit. I'm telling you, I don't know if since I've seen Troy Aikman come into the NFL, the way he stands there, takes it, and makes a good precise throw. Very similar.
Not to mention that Raiders game where he got his ass knocked out on the sideline. The ref did not call a late hit.
Mm-hmm.
He was past the white line
Yeah.
that is, out of bounds.
Yep.
It wasn't just a yard line. It was
Yep.
a full 3 yards after.
They get the right coach, and that guy is going to be a
problem.
top-notch quarterback.
Just get a GM with a little sense of
Yep.
urgency to get
Yep.
someone.
Yep. I agree with
I'm
you.
not asking the world. We'll see
Yep.
what happens. I'm
Yep.
not going to already, disregard the next season because I'm getting myself worked up, but I've seen this before. That's all I'm saying.
No, I
You look
agree.
at the Bengals, what they did without Joe Burrow, then you look at the Chargers and see what they did without Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Very, very different.
Oh, yeah.
Just all I'm saying.
Yep.
I'm not knocking the Bengals. If anything, I'm praising them. The Chargers were a dumpster fire at best.
Yep. Yep.
So
Oh, yeah.
we'll see what the season holds. I'm trying to think. Is there any other little topics we got all about
All
all the
side
coaches?
topics, I think we hit the bulk of them.
I mean,
honestly.
I can't think of anything. Given it, with the holidays and everything, hope we get everyone in a nice holiday. But it's kind of thrown me for a loop. I can't believe it's only Wednesday this week.
I've been messed up all week. I thought yesterday it was going to be Thursday today.
Yes.
Yeah, all messed up. I don't know what the hell the deal is. And
No.
maybe it goes back, like you're saying, to the prior week.
Yeah, I mean, we had 2 straight weeks of weirdness.
Yeah.
So first full week is a little rough to a rough start.
It really is, yeah. We hope you all are getting back in the groove okay, too.
Yes.
Yeah, don't forget to click the like button
Yeah.
if you're enjoying the podcast.
Hey, if you're a fan and you haven't yet, don't forget to like, subscribe.
That's right.
Leave a comment. We'll find something else to comment about here in a little bit. But
We appreciate you joining us, as
yes,
always.
Yes.
And now, without further ado, I think we'll roll into our wild card weekend
Yes.
picks.
This will be nice for us because we've only got, by comparison, a very fractional amount of games.
That's right. And so we can delve a little bit more into
Yes.
these if we want to.
I'm happy.
Good stuff and wonderful. We got 3 days of games.
Yes.
I love it. Wild card weekend is such a good weekend.
Yes.
If you're a bettor,
Yes.
betting these games I think is so fun because all of them are focused. So
I like the isolated games where I can
Yes.
focus on who I like and what I like.
Yep.
And I can just go down a line for 3 straight days.
But can I just say one thing? What the fuck is the NFL doing with wild card weekend on Peacock only? That is
I
a little nuts.
saw that shit and I was like,
Stupid.
I saw Peacock, and so I immediately thought, oh, they just mean it'll be on NBC local too. And then to find out later, that's not what they meant. They actually meant it's exclusive.
That's stupid.
They're destroying their ratings.
They are.
Peacock, as far as I know, and given I don't watch as many shows as I used to religiously, there's like nothing on Peacock.
No.
Nothing. At least it's not a service that I hear many people go, well, did you see on Hulu?
Yeah.
It's who the fuck's getting Peacock?
Yeah.
And now we're expected to for this.
Right. So whatever. But
I mean, how many emails can I go through to make free accounts for 2 weekends?
fan base is not very. The NFL fan base is not very thrilled in general.
No, they're
about
destroying
that
their
one.
ratings.
So yeah, it's stupid shit.
It's ridiculous.
They're trying to get bigger bucks by
Yeah.
selling individual games for more than they. But it's stupid.
Yeah.
So
Not a fan.
Yeah, me neither. So our first matchup is a rematch from earlier in the season. It's the Browns at the Texans. I think the first game was at the Browns, right?
Yes.
I think.
It might have been. No
C.J.
Stroud.
Stroud was out. So Case Keenum, I think, was quarterback then.
I think you're right.
And so this one is 4:30 on Saturday. You got Father Time on the one side, Joe Flacco, who's having a great season coming back, playing against C.J. Stroud, rookie for the Texans. And, the only saving grace for them is it's at home.
Yes,
So,
I agree.
Cleveland's defense is just killer.
Dominant.
Myles Garrett, just killer. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you see in this.
I'm looking at it. Right now, the Browns are -2.5.
Browns are favored.
Browns are favored
Okay.
by a field goal. By a field goal. I mean, I really think, home dogs over the last, I think it's 2-3 years, have done a very, very good job.
Yeah.
But this one feels different.
Yeah.
I'd rather take the 2.5 than, go against Flacco.
Mm-hmm.
The way he's looked and the way he's sounded and how much it feels like he doesn't care and cares at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to go with the Browns on this one.
I think I'm going to go with the Browns too.
I think Stroud does a good job. Just barely beating the Colts in what could be argued the first playoff game of the season.
Yeah.
I love Houston. I think they've done a great job.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be hard to beat a veteran squad like the Browns, no matter where you're at.
And Joe Flacco has been there before.
Yes, that's
with
what
the Ravens.
scares me. It's giving off a Nick Folk energy from that Eagles year.
Yeah.
That is
Yep,
unsettling.
you're right. That's right. That's a great comparison.
And I counted the Eagles out for all 4 of those games.
Yeah,
They went.
me too.
And right now, I'm a bit worried for the AFC.
Tough defense. Tough defenses win championships. You hear that a lot. So
and
that's an issue.
They're what, the 5th seed?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So there's not a good chance that they'd have any home games. That would be a wild time. But, I mean, they're going to be probably very close spreads for the next game or two, assuming they win.
Yeah.
But I really like the Browns.
Yeah.
We've seen it before. History repeats itself, and that might be the reincarnate Nick Folk.
Yep. So let's we both go with the Browns then.
I'm going to go with the Browns. I can't pick the Texans with rookies.
Nope, I don't think so either.
I don't hate them.
I think they're going to be better next year.
Yes.
They're just not quite there.
If they had Tank Dell, it might be a different story.
And Cleveland is a team of destiny right now.
Yes. And
don't mess with that.
No.
So
in no way.
Miami at Kansas City is your 8 o'clock Peacock game. So
Man,
no Taylor Swift for a lot of people. The Chiefs been struggling.
Chiefs have been struggling.
Dolphins have been struggling.
Yes.
And for me, I think I'm going to come down to Tua versus Patrick Mahomes.
That's, in my opinion, the first thing I would look at.
Yep.
The amount of, even the Bills game, Matt and I were watching it together. He can attest that, or if you watched the game, that it seemed like there was a lot of missed throws on Tua's part, once again. And the Bills' front defensive tackles are not crazy.
Yeah.
Given Von Miller was in there, but I don't know if he's played many games this year so far. So I really don't even count him in. This game will also be played at Kansas City, where it's projected to possibly be the coldest game ever.
Yes. Snow too, I think.
Yes.
So
I just know the wind chill, and it's supposed to be like 0 degrees plus a 20-mile-an-hour winds or some shit. It's supposed to be wild.
Yep.
That included, I'm honestly going to go with Kansas City. Yep. Because that Dolphins defense is so banged up. The line is 4 right now. Don't know if I'd lay the spread, but the money line.
Chiefs by 4?
Yeah, Chiefs by 4. I would definitely take Chiefs money line just because I don't think they've given up. They'll get Waddle back, they'll get Moser back. And I'm just going to keep beating the drum. It's served me right so far that Tua just can't do it. And it's under the lights at 8 o'clock. If this was a 4 o'clock game on Saturday or Sunday, I might go with Tua.
So, and again, like you say, it's already going to be, weather's going to be an issue. And now you're playing when the sun's down.
Yeah.
It's going to be even colder. And let's just say Kansas City's used to that weather.
Yeah.
Miami is used to Florida.
That's what it was last week. They're going from
that's a problem.
Hot to cold. That's going to suck. Given, players are players, it won't affect them, but as a team it will.
Yeah.
And I don't know about kicking wise who's got the better kicker.
Yeah.
But, with that winds and shit, I think you're going to have to be able to run the ball and score it.
Yeah.
Given that would probably favor the Dolphins as a whole. But for some reason, I just think the Chiefs will get it done, and Travis Kelce got a week off.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be ready for this game at least.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'm going to have to go Chiefs.
Same here. All right, Sunday matchups. So the first matchup at 1 o'clock on CBS, Pittsburgh Steelers at the Buffalo Bills. That is interesting.
That deserves the 1 o'clock. Hats off to the NFL for putting it there.
That's a good spot for it, right? And when you first look at this, you say, okay, Josh Allen versus Mason Rudolph.
Yes.
And you say, that's
No
a
brainer.
mismatch right there. But the Steelers, and the one thing I will say is T.J. Watt is out, I think, for this game.
He is.
That's a problem for containing.
Yes, for getting
Josh
pressure
Allen.
on Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And you could even say, in the past, other players have gotten sacks, other players have done whatever, but that's because they've had to double team TJ.
Yep.
With that now no longer a problem, they'll have an extra guy to use wherever they want.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to pick Pittsburgh on some level. I don't know why I feel that.
Yeah.
The Tomlin difference is the thing that I'm thinking. I just think they're mismatched there. But you know what? Tomlin has been mismatched all season long, and here he is.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that Pittsburgh beats Buffalo at Buffalo.
Okay. I don't like the value of Buffalo, and I'm not confident enough in Pittsburgh. The spread is 10.
Wow, that's a huge spread.
I think I would take the 10 for the Steelers.
Yeah.
Only because this is also supposed to have some sort of the worst weather ever too.
Right.
So, what's probably going to... You see the over-under is 36.5, and you see the spread is 10. That means the Bills would have to win by 20 and just to hit around the over-under and to cover, which doesn't seem straight to me.
No.
That
is interesting combination there.
I would take 10 for the Steelers, but I'm not... Value-wise, you don't get anything from Buffalo, so I'll probably end up staying away from this game as a whole. Yeah. I would pick Buffalo to win, but it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's 50 to win 10. That wouldn't...
Doesn't really give you...
No, that doesn't juice me. But the Pittsburgh Steelers spread I do enjoy. So that's just my opinions on it. I don't have any strong ones.
I'm with you.
This game is going to be this game, and it has to happen.
Yep. 4:30 on Fox, we have the Packers at the Cowboys.
Hot diggity.
This is a rematch of 2 prior playoff games at Dallas when Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback for the Packers. 2016 being the first one, which was Dak's rookie year.
Yep.
And then
a couple years ago.
Yeah, a couple years ago there was another one. I think maybe 2018.
Yeah.
And then so I think that Dak is laser focused right now. I think that Jordan Love is a real up and coming good quarterback. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. I do think Dallas wins the game. And I think that Dak takes care of a 2016 that sticks in his craw.
Yes, I think the Jimmy curse has been lifted. I think that this will be a catapulting game going forward. The Packers defense, I don't think, will be able to handle the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I do think the Cowboys defense will be able to handle Jordan Love at home, and this game is at home.
Yep, and that's a huge key.
That's a huge key for this matchup.
The other thing I will throw in here too is, when Brett Favre was quarterback of the Packers, they never could beat Dallas at Dallas.
Right.
When Rodgers became quarterback of the Packers, they never lost at Dallas. And Mike McCarthy, who was the Packers head coach for a long time, I believe wants this game bad.
I think both of them want it so bad that it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Given the spread is 7.5 for the Cowboys, I might alt that to 2.5 just so you get a little better value, but you're not looking at a straight money line pick.
Yep.
I'm going to go Cowboys by a mile.
I'm thinking the Cowboys 30, the Packers 20.
Yeah, the over-under is 50.5.
That's what I think. Is it really?
Yeah.
I just picked that off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think they win by 10, honestly, too.
That's why the last game, 8 o'clock, NBC, is the LA Rams at the Detroit Lions.
That is going to be a crazy game.
That is just delicious. I mean, the NFL could not have hoped for a better matchup than that one.
I try and figure out how it works out, and, it just works out.
Yeah. Matt Stafford goes back to Detroit where he did, so much for the Lions organization. Jared Goff, who was with the Rams and now is at the Lions, gets his chance to get some revenge potentially. I don't know. So
I am going to go with the Rams.
I'm going to go with the Rams as well. And I just think that the Rams are a little bit more prepared for the moment. I think Dan Campbell's a great coach.
Yep.
And I think this team is in the right direction. I think they're one more year away from making another step.
Yes.
And I think that, Sam Laporta may not play. That's a huge hit to the Lions offense.
Laporta not playing, the Lions, how many yards they give up.
Yep.
I think,
Sean
McVay versus Dan Campbell is going to be a matchup in itself.
Yep.
I think McVay with Stafford is better than Dan Campbell with Goff.
Yep.
I think there's something a little bit more special about Stafford with McVay personally, and I'm not just saying that because he's from Miami.
I agree.
Just in general, and I can't describe it, but Laporta might be part of the difference. Yep. The Lions' defense giving up as many points as they do usually.
Yep.
And I could see, might have just been because we're at the Dallas game, but I feel like Dan Campbell's going to come up with something that doesn't work. It's destined to work this time, but I think that's what's in his head, and I think he's going to outsmart himself.
I think so, too.
Because it's not the first time they've tried it and done it, and usually it works or doesn't, and it makes no real difference because they did it in a 30-10 game.
Right.
But, I think he learned from his mistakes, but at the same time, for some reason, I just don't think Detroit gets it this year.
I agree. I think the Rams win the game, and I think there's probably a pretty good amount of scoring in this one, I would think.
Yes, this over-under is also 51.5.
Okay.
So I think it'll be high scoring. I
agree with you.
Nuka and Cooper Kupp and that running back.
Williams.
Gibbs and Montgomery are amazing. Amon St. Brown and Goff. There's something about Stafford in the playoffs that means more to me than Goff in the playoffs.
Yep.
And it's really just little things on each side, and it's going to be close. And I'm not saying I'm hoping either one wins. I'm just picking the Rams.
Yep, I'm with you. I agree the same thing. The Monday game, ESPN, ABC, we have Philly at Tampa Bay. So Philly's got the road game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to say it again. Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, there you go.
If he loses this game,
We'll be done.
he is gone.
Yeah.
And you just can't lose that many games in a row after winning that many games
I
and make
completely
it.
agree.
Not with the talent they've got. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
And I mean, Hurts' throwing hand being hurt, no pun intended.
Yeah.
That middle finger, after seeing Herbert's fingers jammed up for an entire season, it takes getting used to, and they're only going to have a week to get used to it. I'm going to pick Tampa Bay.
And Baker Mayfield, he's got just enough.
Yeah.
The Eagles' defense, passing defense, is not that good.
No, they're banged up too.
They're banged up. Is it White, the running back for the Buccaneers?
Yep. I mean,
could see him having a big game, and he's a great receiver out of the backfield.
Saquon had an amazing game against the Eagles last week.
So
everything they need to figure out how to win is right there.
It's right there.
And
so
I can't even remember who the head coach is for the Buccaneers.
I think it is
Brian Flores.
Is it Rasheem? No. Oh gosh, I can't think of his name.
But regardless, I think anybody with 2 eyes and a Google search bar can figure out how to beat the Eagles right now.
Yeah.
Just my opinion. And I'm not hoping they prove me wrong. I'm hoping for Nick Sirianni's career they don't blow this game and they blow the next one.
Yeah.
But this feels like Baker winning.
Yeah, it really does to me too. And I just don't even know what you say about it.
I don't either.
I think it's going to be a close game.
Yeah.
I think it's probably 27-24, something like that, Tampa. But I'm going to go with the Buccaneers.
I am too. And
the Eagles just don't give you any hope right now.
No.
You can't trust them.
No, I completely agree.
I don't know if A.J. Brown was playing or not either, and that's another big blow.
Well, it's the same reason I picked the Chiefs. It's like some of these wide receivers that keep getting banged up periodically for half at a time in games. It's just not reliable.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're rushing themselves back, given it's the playoffs, and you're going to do what you have to do to play in the playoffs. But if you're missing 3 downs on a drive, 3 downs on a set of downs, or you know what I mean. If you're missing a few plays of drive at least, that puts your team at such a disadvantage because they already know. Look for him when he comes in. Don't look for him when he goes out.
Yeah, exactly right.
Given the Eagles have Swift, have AJ Brown is who's the other wide
Swift, receiver? Yeah. Oh, the other
wide receiver.
They have
Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith. Yeah.
Given he's a great wide receiver too.
Yeah.
But it's just so obvious with AJ Brown. It feels like
Todd Bowles is the Buccaneers head coach.
Brian Flores.
So
yeah. I really think the Buccaneers somehow pull that off.
Yeah,
it might even be 10-3.
Could be a really low scoring affair.
But before we head out, I almost forgot to go with my Koi Pond pick of the week.
Oh yes.
I've done some research. I'm not, throwing the towel in this week, but I will admit there's not been as much research this week. So I'm going to just go with the Chiefs-Dolphins game.
Okay.
With the weather being the way it is,
yep.
I've seen some stats. I've seen enough for it so far that I am just going to go ahead and pick the under 44.5 in that game.
Okay.
I'm not going to even leave it to build up. We've already talked about it. I think the bad weather is going to hurt the Dolphins. I think the inability for the Chiefs to score is going to hurt the Chiefs. This game could be ugly. I don't think it'll be necessarily all field goals, but it just feels like one of those games that
agree.
Both teams just kind of suck.
17-10 or some crap like that. Or
the over-under right now is 44.5.
Okay.
I might tease that to 47.5.
Okay.
Just take a safe under, but under 44.5 is the official pick.
Right on.
And it's funny because there's some great matchups this week, and then there's some matchups that I couldn't give 2 less shits about.
I agree.
Because of the weather. There's going to be it's going to be ugly. I wish every game would go to 60 points, but
some of those games though where you get hopefully it's a lot of snow and wind and those are fun football games to watch.
Yes.
And you see all kinds of shit you wouldn't normally see. Mm-hmm. I mean, go back to Thanksgiving, Leon Lett, going and touching a ball that was live instead of just letting it go. And you put snow out there. I mean, it's just like people looking out the window and being like, oh, we need to go, or wow. And
it's special.
Football players are no different. Their minds go somewhere else too.
I completely agree.
So, all right. What?
I don't think there's anything else we need to dive into. I think we covered it all pretty good.
I can't think of anything. It's an exciting wild card weekend, and we can't wait to watch the games. Hope you feel the same way.
Yep. And I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it from us.
Hope our recommendations help you win some money.
Yes, let's take all of the money.
That's right. So
And we will keep you guys posted on merchandise as it comes in. You'll obviously see whenever we get the banner.
Yep.
And then we'll probably bring in the sweatshirts and hats whenever we get them.
Definitely so.
So simple shit, easy. A lot of fun to look. A lot of good things coming.
Yep.
A lot of fun things to look forward to.
Yep.
And yeah.
Be safe and,
Hey,
and
enjoy Wild Card weekend.
Yes. Koi Pond out.
Koi Pond.